Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and in today's video I'm gonna be talking about the potential dangers of intermittent fasting if you are someone who's struggling, for instance, with bulimia or binge eating, or in general if you have very unhealthy relationship with food. So first of all, intermittent fasting, it is a fasting for at least 16 hours during the day, and during this time the person doesn't eat anything and they will only drink water, maybe black coffee or black tea. And then we also know of many benefits that intermittent fasting can have for our body and also for our mind. And this is why this topic is quite tricky, because we know of all these great benefits. At the same time, there's a potential danger that if someone who's already struggling with bulimia or maybe a binge eating disorder, or maybe in general, they might not be diagnosed with any disorder, but they know that they have very unhealthy relationship with food, intermittent fasting could then potentially contribute to the issues perpetuating, or even it could contribute to the issues with food getting even worse. One of the potential dangers with fasting in context of eating disorder is that fasting actually takes away the responsibility from the person to decide whether they are hungry or not, because for most of the time in a day they don't have to, they cannot eat, and they can only eat in that very short period of time. So they don't have to make this decision, I'm hungry or I'm not hungry. And if someone is actually struggling with eating disorder, or if in general they have very unhealthy relationship with food, that kind of sense of being hungry or not hungry, or maybe just feeling really stressed and needing something to comfort them, sometimes can be quite foggy. Additionally to that, what fasting does, it takes away the need for the person to trust themselves that yes, I need food now, or no, I don't need food, I'm not hungry, I'm only feeling really stressed and I just need something to soothe myself. And the other thing is as well that in those disorders like binge eating or bulimia, then negotiation about the food, it's constant. The person doesn't have break from that. It's so overwhelming, it's so frustrating. So it is actually quite tempting knowing that when you fast for 16 or 18 hours, food is not an option. So these negotiations, they can get quiet. But we also need to recognize that fasting is not gonna solve the underlying issue that is driving the eating disorder. Another reason why intermittent fasting can seem as a tempting idea for someone who's struggling with binge eating or maybe bulimia is that in this really short window of time, which maybe is 6 hours, or sometimes it could be even less than that, people, they hope that they're not gonna have the urge to binge, so that will mean that they survive another day without a binge. Yet another reason why intermittent fasting can seem as a very tempting idea for someone who's struggling with eating disorder is that intermittent fasting promotes weight loss. Another issue with fasting and eating disorder is that people who are experiencing eating disorder, they tend to think in a black and white way, and also they have traits of perfectionism. And that's why in times when they break the fast, so maybe they will sleep and they will have a small snack, then they will completely give up on fasting that day and they will start binging. So they go from one extreme to the other extreme. Also in line with the black and white way of thinking is that when someone is so fixated on fasting and they lacking flexibility, what might happen is that when friends, they're asking them out for a dinner, they might have to say no because they're fasting. And then with time, what might happen, that the person actually will realize that they are completely isolated from maybe their friends, their family, or it might also happen that they need to give up on certain hobbies because of the routine that the fasting is enforcing on them. Yet another issue is that when someone is using fasting as a compensation for their binging, so on a day when someone had a binge, they might instantly after that start feeling guilty and shameful and worrying about their weight gain. They might think, all right, tomorrow I'm gonna be fasting, so it's gonna be all good, and that helps them in that moment to manage these very uncomfortable emotions. But then what that cycle of binging and fasting can do can only perpetuate the issue with the eating disorder. One more issue that we can talk here about is that someone who's already experiencing issues with binging, whether it is a binge eating disorder or bulimia, after they break the fast, they're actually quite likely to binge. Because what happens is that in this really short window of time, they're not gonna sit down and eat a small meal. They're gonna eat just a bit more than what the normal meal is, and that actually can then end up in being a binge. But then as a result of that, the person might then start feeling even more shame, even more guilt. They might actually self-blame themselves for, again, not being strong enough, for not being able to resist the food. And also, just to add, that we actually have a research telling us that intermittent fasting doesn't actually cause anorexia, bulimia, or any other eating disorder. But if someone is already experiencing any of these eating disorders, or if they have a very unhealthy relationship with food, the fasting can actually perpetuate the issues, and most likely fasting is not gonna be a solution to your eating disorder problem. And that will be it for today. And if you enjoyed this video, then please like it, subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one then. Thank you. Bye bye.